Alright, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to CarX Street. Today we received a new update that I don't think any of us were really expecting. We have new tire models here. It says, "What's up, drivers? We reviewed all your feedback on the game and have prepared a new version of car physics for CarX Street PC." That also says down here for what's new tire model, improved car handling simulation, drift and grip improvements, and enhanced steering wheel handling and force feedback. We're waiting for your feedback. You can use public test channel to let us know your thoughts. Alright, so it looks like we have some new tires and physics to check out. So we're going to right click on CarX Street here, go into properties, down to betas, public test PTR, and then we should be able to X out of here, get up into here, and then the update will start automatically. Gonna let this do its thing. Nice short update, and we are ready to test this out. Alright guys, so I'll load it up here into PTR version 1.0.6 with the new tires. Honestly, they don't feel too different, at least for drifting on controller, and we are going to plug in the wheel in a little bit too, get some drifts over there on the wheel, because I am curious. But at least right now, they might feel a little bit more, almost like soft, like the tire pressure came down. So they might have a little bit more grip in that regard, but I definitely think if you guys are used to CarX Street, you're not going to have too much trouble adjusting to the new physics if they do end up running these long term. Let's try a 360 here. Little deep, but it works. Yeah, I think the tires feel like they might be a little bit softer, a little bit more grippy. And then I want to see too if they're like maybe a little bit more responsive, but that's probably a better test for the race car than the Mark IV. But at least on this line, as far as the Mark IV goes, it doesn't feel too much different. Let's head into the Toge and see if it feels different over there, because that's a little bit of a tighter turning section. And I'm thinking it might be a little different if we're really whipping the weight around up here. So we're gonna try out here. Now I know this car pretty well. We did throw the Ackerman back up to 75. I have it on 10 usually with the throw backy. So not too bad. It does feel like the tires are a little bit more grippy, like a little bit, maybe 10%, 15%, which I don't know if we really needed. I feel like I'm fighting that front end just a little bit more, which is fine. I can just raise the tire pressure and I think it'll feel pretty much the same. And then I want to try that left foot brake too. Yeah, so the left foot brake feels about the same. That's really, I think, what most of us, oh man, would have wanted for a physics update or just even a tuning update is unlocked brake bias and brake pressure so that we could go all the way down with our brake pressure and all the way up with our bias. But as far as this update, I really don't think it feels too much different, just maybe a little bit more gripped up. And like I said, could probably throw the tire pressure up just a little bit and fix that. Oh man, I went around. It's just tending to understeer a little bit more than it used to. And I'm thinking it'll feel better in the race car as well. But all in all, not too much different. Let's swap out to a different drift car real quick before we go racing though. I want to drive the RX-7 and see if that thing feels any different too. All right, so up here in the RX-7, hopefully this car feels about the same as well. And yeah, the tires definitely feel like they have a little bit more grip and definitely a little bit softer, which is interesting. Makes me want to just kind of turn the tire pressure up. Maybe that's just because I'm used to them, but definitely feels like the car's fighting the slides a little bit tougher to rotate in some sections. So we might be able to be a little bit heavier on the throttle, trying to throw some big backwards here. And we're doing okay. So I don't think this is really game changing. Like I said, I think we probably would have preferred to have a little bit more tuning adjustments as far as the brakes if we were gonna, yeah, see right there, I just feel like I'm clutch kicking it a ton, fighting the nose on these tires. So that's really interesting. Now before we plug the wheel in though, I want to swap out to that race car and see how that feels too, because that's a totally different style of driving. And I'm thinking maybe if the tires are a little bit more grippy and responsive, we'll feel it a little bit more on the race car than on the drift cars. Try a little reverse here. Oh no. So definitely a little getting used to here on the new tires, but they're not a huge change. All right, we're gonna hop right into a race here with the 400Z, see if we can win a little speed coin while we're testing this. So we still got that same launch, and it feels pretty similar off the bat. We're gonna hit some corners here soon and see how the tires hold up on the corners. But I'm guessing the car, I mean, it feels maybe a little bit more responsive. And again, like maybe it just has like a softer, oh no, what am I doing? Oh no. Big save, big save. So it does feel a little bit more responsive though, and maybe like it has a little bit more grip. And it feels like it's braking a little better too, which is interesting. I could just be making that up. That could be placebo, but it feels like it is slowing down a little bit easier, which is nice. I mean, this car definitely had a little bit of trouble braking on some of these Black Lotus races because it was flying into all the corners. I'll try here. And it does feel like it's rotating a little bit less under brakes than it was before too. So that makes me believe that these tires are definitely more grippy than they were previously, which is really interesting. I'd like to get a couple tight turns in this car too, and we'll get them after the race here and see how it feels with the handbrake. I am going to be posting a video tomorrow on this car. I recorded it yesterday, so it'll be out on not the PTR, but I talked a lot in that video about how to use the handbrake to rotate this car on tighter corners, so I'm curious to see how that feels too. So luckily we have a couple tighter ones here, and yeah, it definitely feels like the car's a little more gripped up. It's not sliding around as much, and I feel like if it does feel a little too gripped up, yeah, the car's definitely not sliding as much as it was. So that's interesting. I mean, I feel like if you want to get back to kind of where they were, you could probably just raise the tire pressure But this car is definitely not floating as much into these corners as it was previously, which I think is probably going to change the way that we tune as well. Yeah, I can get way more rotation just brake and clutch, whereas before I probably would have wanted to handbrake just about every single one of those corners to get a little more rotation out of the car. So again, subtle differences, but I do think it is significant enough to maybe change some of your racing habits. We'll hit a couple more tight corners back up this way as we go. Come down into this section, we got a couple tighter corners here. And yeah, I'm just not as tempted to use that handbrake. And right there, that was a late brake, and it still worked out well for me. So I do feel like these tires are a little bit more gripped up, which, I don't know. I think we were all fine with the tire physics before. I don't know if we really needed a tire physics update on this game as much as maybe an economy buff, or, like I said, maybe some tuning expansions on the adjustments that we can use while we're tuning these cars. But it does feel, I'll say, maybe slightly more realistic, maybe? I don't know. Like, the tires themselves feel more responsive, but you can brake a lot later, and the grip kind of saves you, so that's really interesting, man. I don't know. I think it's cool to see that they updated the game. I love that they're supporting the game, but I think there's probably other things that they could have went for with their time. And so that's kind of my review here on the controller. Let's get the wheel plugged in and get some drifts in the Mark IV and see how it feels on wheel 2, because it did say increased force feedback, so I'm curious to see what that's all about too. All right, so we're back here at Blizz Station, and it did say that they improved the force feedback or increased it, so we'll see sort of how this feels. Get out a second, into third. And this does feel better, at least to me off the rip. It feels a little less dead, a little less shaky on transition. Yeah, this feels almost closer to CarX Drift Racing, honestly. Yeah, it feels way better in that mid-range, where before it would kind of lighten up. I'll actually try and overthrow the car a little bit. Yeah, so it gets a little dead when you really throw it intentionally, kind of lightens up, but when you're nice and controlled and smooth on those transitions, it actually feels a lot better, which is really, really nice here. I'm not sure if you guys are using direct drive wheels if you're gonna feel as much of a difference, but at least on the G920 here, this feels so much better. There's just like more to it, I guess. Like you feel more in the middle of the steering instead of just needing to be like either left or right, if that makes any sense. It's kind of hard to explain. But when you're turning the car from left to right, you feel a little bit more of those front tires, and this is a huge improvement. So this feels really nice. I definitely was a little bit more used to the slip on the race car, but if this is the improvement we get out of the force feedback, I'm gonna go ahead and say this is definitely a worthwhile change here on the tires and the physics, because this just makes it so much more fun on wheel for sure. Now, just like on controller, I feel like Blizz Station is an awesome starting point, but I do want to get some toge runs in this thing as well, just to see how the force feedback feels out there, so we're gonna go out to the toge as well. All right, so back out to the toge. On the controller, it definitely felt maybe a little bit too gripped up. Like I said, though, I have some tire pressure that I can raise on this car if I really feel that way. I'm thinking, though, on wheel, it's probably... No, it feels better, honestly. When the car settles on those transitions, it just feels like it's not so likely to freak out and oversteer and snap around, which is really nice. Yeah, I just feel way more in control on transitions. Oh, man. And I haven't driven on wheel since that video that I posted last week, driving on wheels, so I'm a little rusty here too, and I feel like it's just so much easier to control the car right now than it was previously. I might be making that up. I might have just gotten better as I kind of worked on my skills for that video, but this just feels so much nicer and easier to control. So definitely let me know if you guys are on wheel, if you guys are feeling the same way, if you guys can feel a difference or if it kind of feels the same. And on controller too, because honestly, it feels like a subtle change, what I can feel anyway. And so I don't think this is going to change the game too much. Probably going to make it better in the long run as people get more used to it. Yeah, that's... I don't think I was throwing that much angle before. That feels a lot better. And like I said, I think a little closer to CarX Drift Racing style physics, which is great because that's what people were most used to. Oh, I hit the wall, no! But I think those drift racing physics are kind of what people were most used to. So it's great to see this feeling a little bit closer to CarX Drift Racing, at least with the force feedback style on the G920. Like I said, guys, if you're driving on wheel, especially if you're on a different wheel, let me know how this feels to you. And if you're driving on controller, let me know as well, because like I said, I think it's a subtle difference here, but something definitely changed, and I want to hear from you guys what you're thinking too. So, little surprise update from CarX Street here today. Definitely not one we were expecting. I'd still love to see an economy buff, maybe the ability to replay those club progressions. Some more tuning options would be great, but they updated the physics, so we got that today. Not bad here. A lot of fun in the Mark IV. I'd love to get some more drift builds going, but I have been working on a few race cars and a money-making method as well. I have been playing legit. I haven't modified my game yet, and so I haven't had a chance to do any drift builds yet, but I got a couple cool videos coming for you guys as well on the racing end of things and the money-making end of things, so definitely been hard at work here on CarX Street. Maybe this will give us a little breath of fresh air in the game here, getting used to the new tires and sort of feeling things out. So if you guys made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys a ton. If you did enjoy the video or found it useful at all, feel free to leave a like down below. And again, definitely let me know what you guys think of this update down in the comments below. Once again, guys, if you made it this far, I appreciate you guys watching a ton, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.